You are listening to Wealthy Muslim Woman Podcast, episode number 49 with Saima Ali, MD. So this is an audio of a video I posted on Instagram and Facebook about 2 weeks ago. And this is for those who are not on social media but do enjoy the podcast. So please tune in to this small snippet on men and relationships. I hope you enjoy. Hey everyone, I have a lot of things planned today and I may not be able to do a live on finance today, but I wanted to speak about a topic that's probably more important. So as you know, I talk about wealth from a perspective of having valuable assets. And the most valuable assets are first, your mental and physical health is the most important thing that you have that you need to invest in and protect. And the second thing is our relationships with other people. And of course, money is very important because money helps us in both of these areas, but the other areas are very important and more valuable, okay? So the other day, there was a discussion going on in a Facebook group about relationships. And I generally don't like to get involved in Facebook conversations because the meaning can be really lost without the facial expressions. We are emotional creatures and we communicate with our facial expressions and our body language. And you can have two people arguing on Facebook and they could be saying the same thing and trying to make the same point. So I feel like they're not very helpful when it comes to overall communication with others. So that's why I don't really get involved with it. But I thought this was really important because some of the thoughts that were expressed in the group, and I hear them quite often, that they do deserve the attention. So some of the thoughts that were expressed is that Muslim men are deficient and Muslim men don't know how to communicate and they are not emotionally available, most of Muslim men. Okay, so I want you to know that Muslim men by itself is neutral. Some people will have good thoughts about them. So there could be women out there thinking Muslim men are amazing. They don't drink alcohol, they wash their backs, they are family oriented, and you could have the same category and we'll have different experience and different interaction based on how we think or see them. Okay, so and when we think about men in general, you'll have some people say, well, a man is created in the image of God, and if God is perfect, then man is perfect. Or you'll have the total opposite argument that men start all the wars in the world. Men are, leading the governments mostly, and they're corrupt, and thus all the miserable things that are happening in this world are due to men. And of course, some in between, some men are good, some are not. And the category by itself is neutral. Now, what does Islam say? In Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that a man or a woman is not better than one or the other. So they're both equal. They're not better than each other. And the reason why we created them is that so they can find love and tranquility within each other. So that's the whole purpose. The whole purpose is that we can meet each other and find love and tranquility, and we can create a beautiful life in this world together. That's the purpose in Islam, okay? And same thing when it comes to, you can pick any man and, his mom will have a different perspective than from what his wife thinks about him, okay? So man by itself is just neutral. Now, we are allowed to believe and think whatever we want. So we can continue in this life believing that most Muslim men are not good and they're not good at communicating. They're not good husbands. They're not going to help with chores. They're not going to do anything. And they're just not a good category. So we can continue to believe that. But it comes to what results do we want in our life? So if you've heard that our thinking creates the results that we want, our thinking creates our reality, then that's very true. So if
the result that you want is that if you want to be married and you are going around thinking most men are deficient and most men are not good communicators, then that probably makes you feel frustrated and angry. And when you're feeling frustrated and angry, then you are probably going to avoid meeting men because, they're not good enough. Or even when you meet them, you are going to think that your brain is going to pay more attention to things that you are looking for. Well, he didn't say that right. He didn't dress up right. And of course, that leads to the result that you're not getting married. You are thinking that men are deficient, and it just goes back to the same thought process. And when we talk about attraction, where does attraction come from? That comes from our thoughts too. So you can have the same guy and people will have different thoughts about them. So you can see a guy on the street walking, or you can meet a man for the first time and he looks amazing. His hair is done right, he's wearing the right dress and he knows exactly what things to say. And you are very attracted to him. You think he's just amazing. And then you find out that he's a serial killer. Would your attraction change for him? Most likely, yeah. Or you can meet a person, a man, and he's not saying things right, and he's not dressed right, and maybe you're not attracted to him physically initially, and then you find out that he is a genius. He has a lot of money that he's using to sponsor orphans around the world, and he's created shelters for women, and he's doing these amazing things. So of course your attraction likely would change for him. And it's all because of what you're thinking, that this defines a good man and this defines not a good man. And that changes everything, like your whole reality about them. And it's the same thing when it comes to any man. So if your friend could be married and you think he's the most amazing guy in the world and all the good men are taken always, but you're not in that relationship, and if you were the one in that relationship, maybe that relationship wouldn't have worked, and maybe you would have thought that he's not good enough, and he may be good enough or maybe amazing enough for somebody else. So the same man could be married to one woman and they're not getting along and they get a divorce and then meet somebody else, and that other person thinks they're amazing, and it's only because of how they're thinking about them. Okay. And so when it comes to relationships, our relationships are nothing more than how we think about somebody. So we could have an amazing relationship with somebody just because how we think about them, or we could have a bad relationship with somebody just because of what we think about them. So if you have a best friend that you think is amazing, you could have her meet your family or somebody else and they'll think she's weird. And you think, why are you thinking that way? She's this amazing person. And it's only because of the thoughts that you're having. So same thing when you are married and let's say your husband leaves socks on the floor. Now, leaving socks on the floor is neutral by itself if it doesn't make you feel angry or upset. If you were not at home, you were on a vacation and you're talking to your husband on the phone and you don't know how dirty the house is and you are just like connecting with him over the phone, you may be feeling lots and lots of love for him while the house may be a mess and he's not doing anything right. And when you come home, you're thinking, okay, this is not how a person should live. This is not how the house should be. Then, of course, you're going to get mad. But all that mad and anger is coming from what you are thinking, not really from what he is doing. So he can be living the life that he does when you're not there and you're not upset about it because you're not seeing it. So it all comes down to our thoughts, and our thoughts are just very powerful. They do create the world that we are living or the life that we are living. So always pay attention to what you are thinking. Now, I want to make an important point that this is for just general things like general relationship problems. This is not for an abusive relationship or somebody in physical or mental abuse. If any of that is going on, then obviously you need to seek proper trained therapist and get proper help. But most of the time what we're doing, the problems that we are creating in our heads and the arguments that we are having are just the stories that we are telling ourselves and the problems that we are creating for our own self. So honestly, you don't have to pick up those dirty socks from the floor either. You do it because you want to, because you don't think that there should be dirty socks on the floor, but you can leave them. He can pick them up when he wants, or you guys can have a discussion together that, hey, we both don't want to do laundry, or we both don't want to do this, so how can we figure this out? So like starting to having a conversation, maybe splitting the responsibilities, and or maybe hiring help if you can. But what we end up doing is there's dirty socks on the floor, feeling angry, mad, yelling at the husband. Of course, the husband is going to think that something is wrong with you, and he's not doing anything wrong, and that creates the disconnect in the relationship, and we're back to, well, men are not good at communication, and this won't work. Now, one last point that I want to make is that we cannot control other people. We cannot change other people. Other people will continue to behave and do the things that they want, but we can change how we think about it and how we feel about it. So you don't have to keep killing yourself, feeling angry, frustrated, just because of what somebody else is doing or not doing. You can feel the way you want to feel. All that power is in you, even if somebody else is not following the rules that you want. So all that is on you, and you can create the life that you want. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to stay in that relationship. If you can have your own boundaries. If you think that, you don't want to be in a relationship where a man doesn't pick up his socks, then obviously you are free to leave and have your own life. But don't think that you can control them and make them do things the way that you want. It likely won't work. It may work for a little bit, but then it goes back to, okay. All right, I hope it was helpful. Please let me know if there are any questions, and I hope I was able to communicate things right. And again, definitely not, if you are in any abusive relationship or anything like that, please seek professional help. Okay.